Warm greetings to the viewers. Welcome to the ME-Arcone Queuing podcast. This podcast is an initiative by the ME-Arcone Queuing team, especially aiming towards ADR conversations so as to implant understanding and preference for the same in India. In today's episode of the podcast with us is a distinguished guest, Miss Mehak Oberoi, ma'am. Thank you for joining us in the podcast, ma'am. Mehak ma'am
Thank
is
you. Thank you so much.
Mehak ma'am is, and get ready for this because it's a lot, a construction and renewable energy arbitrator and mediator. She is a veteran in dispute resolution and helps businesses across Asia Pacific navigate high stake legal and commercial challenges, turning complex disputes into strategic outcomes. She has been felicitated with various recognitions, including the phenomenal She Award by the Indian National Bar Association, Hall of Fame of General Counsels by Lawvisor in 2025, Rising Star by UK India Legal Corridor, and she has also been recognized as highly commended in-house counsel of IBLJ In-House Counsels Award 2025-26. Moreover, she is the founder of Construct Her Global Legal Network, a platform focused on advancing women in construction and infrastructure. Wow, that was more than impressive. We are really happy to have you as a guest on the podcast. Ma'am, let's dive into the podcast. Ma'am, your expertise is construction law ADR. So, could you please describe to our viewers what is the nature of ADR in construction and energy law? Like, what your day at office typically looks like?
I think construction law per se is a beast of its own. It is not a regular contract disagreement related dispute. We are spanning across thousands of pages in a contract. There are technical appendices to it. You have multiple vendors. Uh, you have government entities involved. You have now geopolitics in the mix. So there is so much more to it than just a commercial transaction per se. So yeah, that's how complicated it is, but very interesting, very intellectually challenging. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Um, ADR is widely championed in the construction sector for resolving complex high-value disputes without the delays of litigation. But in your experience, have there been situations like particularly in infrastructure projects involving public interest or asymmetric bargaining power where the pressure to settle has compromised a fair outcome and like when in your view is litigation a more appropriate forum?
So I think there are definitely situations where you are compromising your stance and trying to settle the matter instead of going for a full-blown dispute. And the reasons are many. Yes, one of them is the asymmetry in the bargaining power. That is one of the biggest ones. Because a lot of the times you're dealing with public sector companies, etc., and their scope of flexibility in terms of resolving a dispute is extremely limited. But there are other factors also. So, for example, again, these projects are very capital intensive. They have very long gestation periods. I mean, the minimum would probably be 5 period of time. It can go on to 7 years, 8 years, even 10 years, if not more. So the margin slippage, the profit that you have to make off that project will slip with every year of delay that you're foreseeing, right? So it's more like a cost benefit analysis that you do, that, whether you want to receive the monies today or you're willing to wait it out for another 5 years to actually receive the money. And again, when I say 5 years, it depends, because even if it's arbitration for that matter, you're looking at least a 2 year dispute time, and then you're looking at enforcement. So arbitration itself also can become challenging sometimes. So if you draw a corollary with litigation, then it's definitely much longer. So it's not an ideal choice for dispute resolution at all. Now, the other factors would be that you will also look at the future pipeline that you have with those customers that you're working with. Because ultimately, what will happen is if it's a government entity, there's not just that one project that you'll be doing with them. If you are present in that particular region, you will be looking at other projects, possibly with the same customer in the same region or maybe in another region as well. So you have to look at the future pipeline and decide whether this should work or not. The third is a lot of the times with these kind of projects, you have consortium partners that you're dealing with. So you would be doing, supposing a part of the work and the consortium partner may be doing the civil work, you are doing the hydromechanical work. So it works like that. So mostly these consortiums will have joint and several liabilities. So when that comes in, it's very important for you to have the consortium partner on board for the dispute. If that doesn't happen, not that you cannot go in for a dispute, you still can, but it complicates things a lot. So your jurisdictional objections come from a different standpoint altogether. So that is another reason. And as far as litigation is concerned, I think the possible situations where you would maybe want to get into it is that when you need absolutely immediate interim relief. Two is, if at all, since again the bargaining power is a little skewed in, say, in mediation. So if the mediation seems like almost a coercive step and you don't see that there is a possibility or scope of movement, then maybe you will look at litigation. And I think also with the Mort circular that came in June 2024, where they've said there can be no arbitration with anything beyond 10 crores. So I think by default, now we would have to start, at least in India, start looking at litigation per se, even if we may not want to. But yeah, that may also come into the picture.
That is a lot of factors coming into play, and it's such a complex thing to decide. Oh my God, it makes the
Yeah.
field even more interesting. So, ma'am, construction and infrastructure disputes in India, like spanning a government contracts, PPP frameworks, and EPC arrangement, they still largely default to litigation or ad hoc arbitration, with institutional ADR remaining nascent. Like as you said, that litigation is still an important player in the field. Yet, technology-driven dispute resolution is advancing rapidly, like ODR, online dispute resolution. So, how do you see this tension resolving itself, and what would it take to build genuine confidence in ODR mechanisms for construction claims in the Indian market?
So, we come from a place where even e-stamping in contracts took years for us to accept. So, technology related changes are not, they don't change overnight. It takes time. And as far as ODR is concerned, I think we are still at the embryonic stage. We're using it for extremely small matters. We haven't at all started considering it for construction matters necessarily. It's definitely not the rule. It is still an exception at this stage. And I think that resistance comes from it's not necessarily technology driven. It also has a lot to do with trust. When I say trust, it is about the trust in digital records, the confidentiality factor as far as the kind of information that's being shared online, or even with respect to how the virtual hearings would work when you're looking at witnesses who may not be so tech savvy, and they're wondering how to unmute themselves during that virtual hearing. So those things are still prevalent. So I think trust building is a very important factor in it. Second is the technical complexity of the dispute in itself. So you're looking, again, like I mentioned earlier, you're not just looking at contract disagreements, right? You're looking at delay analysis, you're looking at quantum verification, um, you're looking at engineering aspects. You're trying to understand from engineers what could be the root cause of a machine or a component not working, or the impact that that has on the efficiency of generation. So, all of these things become extremely more difficult when you're transitioning to an online platform. We still don't have so many arbitrators who are very um, who know this field really well. So it is very important for us to be able to explain it in a very simplified manner to a tribunal. So when you're moving to a virtual platform, it adds to the challenges also. Something as simple as, it starts buffering, your connection will be weak, you have a witness who will not be able to switch on the video because there's some issue. These are small things, and I'm not saying they're not solvable. They're very much solvable, but these are issues that we still do face. So those are the kind of challenges that are still there with ODR. And the last would be when you look at what is the change that we can bring about for us to be able to more easily adapt to this, would be a top-down approach. So, for example, even with the mod circular, they said that below 10 crores you can use arbitration, upwards you can't. So now that's become like a mandate that the Indian government entities are trying to follow. So the moment the government says that for an X threshold, you will use an ODR platform, then the industry follows that kind of a mandate. So that will help if government entities or the government comes up with this sort of a rule, a guidance, a directive. That would definitely help.
Right. So technology is still a problem rather than a solution in ADR field, especially in construction law. That gives a good
Yeah.
perspective, and your suggestion was also very practical. Uh, Ma'am,
Mhm.
construction law, it sits at the intersection of technical complexity, commercial stakes, and like institutional gatekeeping. So this has been, all these areas have historically been harder areas for women to establish themselves in. So, like, as someone who has built a standing in this space, what has the journey looked like for you? And what do you think are the cultural or structural shifts that are most necessary? And especially in this context, your platform that you have founded, Construct Her, which is very inspiring. How can such platforms play a crucial role in shifting how the sector identifies and engages with women in the law?
So, as far as my journey is concerned, I think I chanced upon this field by default. I would be very honest with that. I did. And, but I stayed uh, genuinely because of my own interest in it. And not that I think it was very challenging because it is a very technical field. I think till date there are times when I'm, Googling or using ChatGPT to understand a specific technical term as to why a machine is not working, or what is that particular component, or what is it used for, etc. Right? We're not from an engineering background. Most of the lawyers would not be. So it is still challenging in that sense. Um, so it's definitely been a slow journey to appreciate and understand the field. But for someone who's intellectually curious, this field will never bore you. Every day feels like a new day. Now, as far as Construct Her is concerned, I think over a period of time, with all these interactions that I had in industry engagements, etc., I realized that the challenges that women face are pretty much the same. You may walk into a room, but there are only men over there, and you're the only woman. I'm lucky enough to be in an organization where we have a very good ratio. In fact, I come from a global team where it's all women and just one male member. So I'm lucky from that front. But when I look at it externally, when you walk into a negotiation meeting, then the challenge remains the same. You have encountered experiences where you are trying to talk to the other side, but the answer is being directed to another male colleague of mine. So it requires a lot of persistence to be able to make sure that you can hold your ground and have the other party listen to you. So I think that was one of the reasons, and I felt that a lot of women face the same issue. I think over the course of the last 5 years, I think women in this field have increased, but it's still not as much as we would like it to be. So I think the purpose of this platform, as I like to call it, is the three V's. The first being visibility. So you have women who are working in this sector, but no one beyond that organization will know the amazing work that they're doing. So it's very important to make them visible within the fraternity. Two is voice, to be able to give them platforms. Um, on a cross jurisdictional level to be able to say their piece, whether it is through conferences or article writing, newsletters, etc. And third is vocation, because construction law is still not a mainstream subject. You have certificate courses that are coming up now, and but it's not mainstream. So it's very important to help the younger generation, handhold them, and build pathways for them into this industry, and especially from a practical insight perspective. Academic theory is easy to achieve, but it's very important when they hear it from the horse's mouth. I think that kind of experience helps a lot. So I think that's really the main motto of Constructor.
That is such a great and unique way to contribute to the field, not just by being there, but also creating something of your own that other women can follow. And you have pointed out some great subliminal biases that are faced by women on everyday basis, even in such higher diocese still. So it was very helpful and very inspiring of you to create something like that. So all the information, it was so insightful, ma'am. Thank you for sharing the view of your lens with us. And before concluding, it would be great if you could give a piece of advice to the law students and young professionals who are inclined towards this field, which is very niche, like construction law ADR. So it would be very helpful if you could give some piece of advice.
So I think twofold. One would be that learn the contract before you learn the dispute. Uh, like I've mentioned time and again, these contracts are very technical. So don't try to jump into the dispute before you understand the contract. Don't try to understand the contract only from the lens of the dispute. It's very important for you to understand how a project functions. So all nuances of the contract need to be understood before you can really appreciate a dispute. So I think that's very important, because typically what happens is, because you get a dispute in hand and you just start working on it and you go with the flow, etc., and you build the other context around it as you go. So I would say that the younger generation needs to familiarize itself with the nature of contracts, which are very different from the regular contracts, before they try to pursue this field per se. Second would be that don't shy away from complex work. This is complex work. So you need to raise your hand And the only way that you will be able to build your expertise into this field is by being a part of a meeting or in a room which was not originally meant for you. And that I'm not saying from a woman's perspective per se, but even otherwise, because there will be always be project meetings, there will be conversations with analysts or with planners. You should be a part of those meetings, even if you're just observing, even if you're just listening in, because that's what's going to widen your horizon in terms of what this field really entails. So I think those two.
Well, that's a very practical and clear advice. I'm sure our viewers are going to benefit from following every word of advice of yours. Thank you for being the guest of the podcast and taking the time to share your experiences and guiding us through the nuances of ADR. It means a lot. It's very kind of you, and it means a lot to our listeners as well. It was an absolute pleasure to listen you speak, and I hope to connect with you in the future similarly. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We will be back with more conversations that matter. Until next time.
Thank you so much.